50 years ago, the students and faculty of William Dawes Elementary were told by their teacher, Priscilla Taylor, to imagine what the future might hold, to draw what they think the world would look like in the next 50 years. Their drawings would be sealed in a time capsule, buried, and opened by a group of students like them 50 years later. Other students draw something interesting, but for Lucinda, she was just writing numbers, writing with all her concentration as if someone is whispering them to her ears. And today marks exactly 50 years since the time capsule was buried. Priscilla, who's still alive, is there to officially open the 50-year time capsule. Every student, full of excitement, gets to receive one drawing for themselves, but Caleb gets something different, not a drawing, but a paper full of just numbers. It looks weird.
Boring, everyone else got a picture!
This was written by a young girl named Lucinda Embry. Lucinda was a very sad little girl who was always quiet and distant from other students. John, Caleb's father, who's an astrophysics professor, comes across the paper his son brought home. With curiosity, he tries to unravel what the numbers represent. It turns out these are not just random numbers, but dates, coordinates, and death tolls that took place years after it was written. John is puzzled, as every event that took place matches the numbers on the paper exactly, even the death tolls and the coordinates of where the events occurred. John tries to explain the numbers and the events to his friend, but he thinks John sounds crazy. John tries every means to make him see the truth and tells him the next event is happening the next day, which will leave a record of 81 dead, but his friend isn't convinced, so he walks out. On the quest to get to the truth, John visits Miss Priscilla Taylor, Lucinda's teacher, at her house to ask about Lucinda. He shows her the numbers written, and she recognizes Lucinda's handwriting. He asks if he could meet her, but unfortunately, Lucinda was late. John starts noticing his son Caleb standing outside with strange people, but they drive off when John runs out. On a bridge, one rainy afternoon, John realizes the uncircled numbers are GPS locations.
The encircled numbers are locations.
He steps out of his car, stuck in heavy traffic, but suddenly a plane comes thrusting down without control and crashes to the ground. Without hesitation he rushes to help the few survivors who are burning in flames. He can't do much as the rescue team arrives at the site. By now, he's convinced Lucinda didn't just write numbers, they were prophecies.
First estimates put the presumed dead 81.
The news reports 81 lives lost in the crash. John is overwhelmed by everything. At night, Caleb is woken up by a monster with the same sound Lucinda used to hear. The monster points him to a revelation of a burning bush. Caleb's loud scream draws his father's attention to his room. But the strange man is gone. John runs after the man standing in the woods, but he vanishes. One afternoon, John and his son Caleb find Lucinda's daughter, Diana, and her granddaughter, Abby, and trail them to a museum. They started a conversation and decide to talk over with a drink. But the conversation doesn't go well, as John starts digging into her late mother's life, asking questions about the note she wrote. Diana, without hesitation, leaves with her daughter Abby, no matter how much John tries to convince her about the coming event. That night, John figures out the next location and calls the FBI to inform them of the next event. To figure out everything, he hands his son over to his sister and warns her to keep him from watching the news. At the location, he's seen chasing a man who appears to be carrying something in his clothes, but he seems harmless. But the numbers don't lie. Suddenly, a spark on the train track causes a loss of control, leading the train to a serious crash, claiming lives as it gradually slows to a stop. Finally, John and Diana get along as they drive somewhere. Diana remembers October 19th, the day her mother said she was going to die. John tells her a story about how he lost his wife to a fire outbreak and has since believed that no one knows what's coming. They arrive at Diana's mother Lucinda's abandoned house in the woods in search of information about her writing that could help uncover the truth. Inside the house, Diana shares memories of how her mother moved here because her dad thought she was sick, taking her away from her mother, and she never got to see her again until the day she died. While inside, shadow-like men appear, walking toward the car, calling out to Caleb and Abby to come with them. Caleb jumps on the driver's seat, blowing the horn, as their parents rush back to the vehicle. John sees one of them from behind and runs after him, but on getting close, he disappears without a trace. Next day, John sees Abby making the same drawings from Lucinda's archive. He investigates further and is shocked to realize the last coming event is not just a warning to him or a group, but a warning to everyone, about a 100 microtesla wave of radiation from a solar flare within the solar system that will destroy the Earth's ozone layer, killing every living organism on the planet. Diana feels terrible, as she has spent her whole life believing her mother was insane. She thinks it will be safe to hide underground before the solar flare hits the planet. John calls Caleb, but he's writing numbers on a paper just like Lucinda. Taking the pen, Caleb scratches the table with his hand. John searches for Lucinda's final writings, which she inscribed on a door because she was interrupted. He thinks it's the coordinates they need for safety, but Diana thinks he's insane and rushes off to take the children to an underground cave. Finally, Lucinda's last writings are revealed as coordinates, but Diana is already gone with the children. Immediately, he goes after her. While at a gas station, Caleb calls his father, but Diana later takes the phone. John warns her they need to go to her mother's mobile home, as that's the location from the numbers, but Diana doesn't believe him. He yells that the cave won't save them. While arguing on the phone, mysterious men drive off with her car, with Caleb and Abby inside. She goes after them in another vehicle but is hit by a truck. Silence falls over the night. Soon, John arrives at the accident scene, but all efforts to resuscitate her fail. John continues searching for the kids. He finds Diana's car with all the doors open, but no one is inside. He goes on foot into the woods and sees a man standing in the dark. He threatens him with a gun, asking where his son is. Immediately, Caleb runs out carrying a rabbit, and Abby follows. They tell their father they won't hurt them and have been protecting them all along. Suddenly, an alien ship descends from the sky to take the chosen to a safe place so humanity can be preserved. But only the chosen, those who heard the call, can go. John watches as Caleb and Abby are taken up into the sky in the alien ship. And then, doomsday, Earth is caught by fate. Chaos everywhere. People striving to survive against the deadly heat. Some call it prophecy, some call it fate, but in the end, it wasn't about stopping the end, it was about creating a new beginning.